sure if we would. And I don't know if we need to wait for Ken to come in. Jim, do we know if Ken's coming? Or maybe we could just start and,
I'm here.
oh, there you are. Okay, so we'll get started. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:02. And I don't know, does anybody have a flag? Kathy's got a flag. Thank you, Kathy. Kathy's got her flag, so please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag
flag
of the United States of America,
United States of America,
which
and
is
and to the republic for which it stands,
indivisible.
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty,
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So our first item would be public input. If we have anybody from the public who wishes to speak, please let us know. Okay, done with that. No correspondence, and the approval of meeting minutes will be next. So let's see. Yeah, everybody, Kathy sent them out with the agenda, so everybody had a chance to look at them. So I'll make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes from our meeting of October 24, 2021.
Second.
Second,
And who did that second? Was that
Dave.
John? Dave, okay.
Dave and Roy.
I have maybe a typo, Kathy. I don't know if you need to correct stuff if we find things. The police station water test you had put for September 9 and it was September 2nd. So I guess we need to say minutes as amended. So I don't know if anybody else has anything that they noticed that needed to be corrected or changed. We're good? Okay, so all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And I don't think anybody needs to abstain because everybody was here last time, right? Yeah,
so,
okay, good. All right, so let's move on to old business. So, yeah, thank you for whoever was making all that noise. So let's go on to old business, Rockwell and Johnson Schools. So do we have an update from Ken?
We do.
We got the report. So Ken, if you could give us
Okay,
your update.
I'll start with Rockwell. We had the walkthrough with the fire marshal, and we didn't have open items for Rockwell. For QSR, they finished the acoustical sound panels at the chiller. The exterior window mullion cap installation has started. Earth movers, the water main was capped inside the boiler room, and they're gonna now excavate by the hydrant and cap it outside. So it's scheduled for Thursday, and that's what the plan is, to get that done Thursday. And then the lawn restoration work is starting tomorrow morning for both schools. They're going to use the organic weed killer. He said a few days, but I saw an email. It's going to be probably next week. They'll come back and aerate, seed, and amend the soils with fertilizer. And that'll take care of that. Moving to Johnson. The walkthrough with the fire marshal had a few items. We've got some signs that shipped, and I didn't get word that I received them today, but tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have those signs and we can get those installed. couple mag hold opens that needed to have a solid spacer so that the um, magnetic part doesn't drag when there's a fire or the door shuts. It's, I got one of them done. I just got to finish. There's actually three. I gotta get two done. And then there's a fence on the corner for the boiler rooms. That, we're trying to get an update from PNC Fence on the material. But they had said it was a long lead item, so we're trying to see more of an exact date from them. We don't have that answer right now. And then with the lawn, they're going to start at Johnson tomorrow morning in the back of Johnson. And then after the buses move around, and then finish Johnson, weed killing, and go over to Rockwell. The earth movers did the aeration and reseeding for the soccer field last Friday. So they're watering that now, so they can try to get some grass growing there.
Okay, so, couple questions. The water main needing to be dealt with. Do you or earth movers know exactly what you need to do now to get that capped off on the exterior?
Yes.
Okay, because I saw Tom Villa from the Public Works utility person, and he was showing me on a map, et cetera, and he just wanted to make sure it got taken care of, because he said it was something that he brought up back way back when it was everything was first presented to planning and zoning, and that was one thing he said was going to need to get dealt with. So that's going to hold us up probably with CO, at least on the exterior, unless we get that done. So you know where or at least earth movers they know where they need to dig. They kind of
yeah, they were pointed pretty much right in front of the hydrant.
Mhm.
We reviewed the underground utilities, sent them photos, and so
Okay.
we're gonna have to go careful there.
So they're going to do that Thursday when there's no school.
Right.
Okay, good. And on your report too, you said that the exterior window metal thingies are getting the caps put on them.
Yes.
And do some of them need to get done at Johnson too, or is it just Rockwell?
There are some at Johnson as well.
Okay, so all those are going to get done.
Yes.
Okay. And so with the soccer field, you said we're at a place where they're trying to get they've redone everything they need to do there, and we're just trying to get the grass to grow.
Correct.
Okay. I saw an email about some leaks, and I think it might have been at Rockwell after the heavy storms after Ida. Did we figure any of that out? Was it Rockwell, or I'm pretty sure it was Rockwell.
Yeah, there was a little jam, and there was a new location on the back wall. I don't know the cause of that. It was just an existing wall that, I don't know if it's because of the amount of rain we had, but water was coming in underneath the footing now.
And there was some part of an email that talked about the solar stuff having been started and whether that created any issues. Did we come up with an answer to that?
No, only that the flashing looks good in that area, and unless it's got a hole in it right there, it hadn't leaked since that rain, so I don't know, if it was because it was major flooding. I don't know the reason for that one.
And is this a different area than a couple weeks before? I think it was at our last meeting, we talked about a leak that happened.
Yeah.
At Rush.
Yeah, they fixed the stage area and
Okay,
the storm on I think it was Thursday morning, September 2nd.
yeah,
There was no leaks. And,
okay.
yeah, that was a good test right there if you had one.
Okay.
Nancy,
Sure. Go ahead.
I went up on the roofs, both Rockwell and Johnson, actually all five, after the rain. But Rockwell, I noticed had a lot of standing water, and then Johnson had a lot of standing water in one area. I'm not sure if that is by design or it just seemed like there was a lot of standing water. I was wondering if Ken saw any of that.
Yes, I have in the past, and the roofing inspector that provides the warranty also saw it, and they allow a certain percentage, and yeah, they're aware of where there are some puddles.
Okay,
I guess they figure in evaporation and everything, but they do allow it.
okay. Yeah, I know they always allow a little, but with new roofs, I just wanted to make sure.
So even with the standing water, we're not experiencing leaks or any other problems.
Nothing's been reported to me.
Yeah.
Just that
Okay.
Rockwell one was the only problem.
Mhm. Right.
We want to make sure though that if you do have leaks, you can call those in yourself because those are under full warranty. But we just caution that you check to make sure it's from the roof and not a plumbing item or something like that.
Okay, yep.
So, right. So Ken, if you're saying if you think it's a roof leak, you want to make sure that it's really a roof leak before you call the roofers out and it's not something with plumbing or anything like that.
Well,
Yeah.
they won't call them out on their own. They'll notify me and I'll make the assessment.
Yep.
So you'd make an assessment before you did any calls to anybody.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So I have a question, kind of general for Geraldine. Like during OAC meetings, you always had an ongoing list of things that, like from one meeting to the next, were supposed to be taken care of, but they weren't totally finished yet, et cetera, et cetera. We're looking good as far as not having a lot of open items with fire marshal. I don't know if we have any with the building department. I'm assuming that kind of list wouldn't be very long.
Yeah, my understanding is that there are actually two things that might be holding up the final certificate of occupancy. One are these items at Johnson that Tom's still looking for. And I think if especially the fence at that exterior stair, I mean, you approved it, it's been ordered. I think I'll have a conversation with him to see if we can, put that on some sort of conditional list or, according to the architects, that was not strictly a code requirement. So it was a request from the fire marshal and the building official to add that. So I'm hoping that if that's really going to be a longer lead item, that that he'll be able to issue the CO without that. Ken's just about to finish up the other two items, the hold opens and the signage. So I'm pretty sure last I talked to Chris Baldwin, he was fine. All of his issues have been addressed. So in terms of the buildings, I think we're in really good shape. I also believe that all of the health department's issues have been satisfied, but I don't know that Laura Vastiel has been out yet and I don't know if she's going to come again to make a final inspection. So we need to follow up on that. And then we're really just left with these site issues, and I also know that Beth Cavagna in land use said that she would sign off on the certificate of occupancy, even though we still have these land use items, that they're not strictly tied to the CO on the buildings. So other than, I think that there are, a handful of open items on the punch list, but they are minor at this point. And in conversation with Ken, I believe they are being addressed. I think that we're in really good shape in terms of finalizing all the work on the project.
Good.
I think the biggest outstanding issue will be turning over that, whether the site mitigation work that's going on now will be successful, will be approved by the design team and then accepted by the owner. So that's probably the biggest thing that's out there right now.
So are we also looking at the, so I saw that email about the area at Rockwell off the blacktop playground where it slopes down towards Whittlesey and how that keeps washing out. Are we looking at doing something different there?
Well, that's my hope. I have not had a response from Perkins Eastman or Malone McBroom on that. But at this point, yes, as I said in that email, we continue to get washouts. We can't just keep saying, the designers can't keep saying we designed it and the contractor's saying we built it, and yet we still have a problem. So I did throw that back to Perkins Eastman, to throw back to Malone McBroom, to say, you need to do something about this. At this point, I think that there is a design issue, or at least there's a design solution that needs to be examined. And I don't have a response from them on that yet. And I see
Darlene,
that,
I spoke with Dave today about it, or this afternoon actually. So
Okay.
I'll issue a response on that tomorrow formally, but we have some concerns about the grading coming off the basketball court and the grade being higher and forcing the water to certain areas, which it's designed to sheet flow off the basketball court and not be directed to any one spot, which is why you're getting washouts in certain areas. So we're not sure if the pitch on the basketball court is correct, if there's any issues at the sidewalk, if there's been any settlement. There's a number of questions that we have that we need to look at before we look at another engineering solution for this.
okay, but just, I don't want to get bogged down in this at this meeting, so we should probably talk about this tomorrow when you issue that response. I think, even if we find out that there's some grading issues or there's an elevation issue in how the paving was installed at that playground, we're not pulling up all the playground to repair it at this point. So I do want you to be proactive with Malone and McBroom in terms of coming up with design solutions to mitigate whatever we've got there right now, right? So maybe we can talk about it tomorrow.
Okay.
After you issue the response.
Okay. And that sounds like it shouldn't hold us up with the
It's
CO.
a,
Just, we
yeah.
need to have some kind of resolve to that so we don't keep getting those washouts.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So I know that Dr. Carver said she has a Board of Ed meeting tonight. Did Bob or anybody get anything from her asking for review or check things or?
No, nothing.
Okay,
And she didn't connect with me either. So I presume there was nothing major.
well, if she had something major and she couldn't get it to one of us, she might jump off Board of Ed and jump on here and give us her comments at some point, but she always usually lets us know if there's something big that she needs to look into. So it sounds like we're very close to having our CO. Geraldine, you said somebody needs to check with Laura to find out if she's coming back out or whether she's.
Well, I know that Ken has been pursuing her with, I presume, no response. And I guess I can reach out. I'll reach out as well. Usually when I reach out, she does respond. I don't want to say, can you go by and look at the project? I just want her to, sign off on the CO at this point. But
Right. I mean, she gave a list.
I'll connect with her as well to make
Okay.
sure that that's all in the works.
Right, because she had a list a while ago, and I think everything on that list has been either taken care of or dealt with somehow, so it should all be good.
Yes, and Ken has provided documentation and, of the things on her list too, on a line-by-line basis. So I do believe we've taken care of them. I just, we need her signature on the dotted line, so.
Right, she has to sign, each department has to sign on.
Exactly.
One thing that just jumped into my head was that the softball field scoreboard. Did that ever get all hooked back up and good to go? Do we know?
I'm sorry, it kind of fell through the cracks on my end. I haven't, with the start of school, I haven't gone back and checked it, but I will tomorrow morning.
Okay. Because I know that was in the works.
Yeah, between my vacation and start of school, my mind wasn't there, sorry.
Damn vacations.
So we've decided to take it out of the Rizzo part of the project, right?
Right,
We're still gonna pay
right.
whatever needs to be done out of the project funds, but yeah,
Right.
we're not using the Ferguson Mercury team. I
No.
will say, just to kind of related to that, Bob also had Lozito, we'll see on it with an invoice later. We couldn't get Ferguson Mercury to come out and complete some data work in the Johnson cafeteria that had been legitimately omitted from the scope, but we couldn't get them to come back and do it as a change order. And Bob had his electricians come in and complete that work too. So we're kind of
Yeah,
plugging
that
through
was
some of
done.
those last, yeah. In a way that that we don't have to wait for the Ferguson Mercury team to do any more work.
Good, okay. So does anybody ever have any other questions for Ken on the construction part and progress schedule, et cetera? It looks like that fence is the exterior of the boiler room stairs at Johnson is gonna hold us up for a bit. So you're working on seeing if we can kind of get the CO done without it or with some kind of contingency of it's gonna get in at some point. Any other questions for Ken on construction and schedule?
I just had one question. How do we out with the compaction? Wasn't there some issue with the compaction of the soccer field? Or questions from?
It came up, but we provided the installation methods that earth movers used to Joe, and you responded back with it. That everything was done for the contract.
So Beth is happy, right? Wasn't it Beth that was out there?
Yeah, Beth was checking it out. I don't know if she's been back to check. I think once the grass is established, et cetera, she may come back out. Ken, do you know?
I don't know about that.
And is she okay with the info that, like what John just asked about the compaction, and you provided the paperwork, and is she good with that?
I haven't heard about that. I know she was talking about the trees, not to change subjects, but that was the other open item, the dead trees on the hill.
And where are we with the dead trees on the hill?
I don't have a response in writing from movers. But I don't believe that they think that they own the dead trees.
Which is possible that they may not. But if, and again, that's obviously not, I don't think it's something that Beth would, she might be concerned about it, but I don't know if it would be required as part of the CO for her to sign off. But I guess we're gonna have to get confirmation from her.
And we know that there were other dead trees up there that I think Parks and Rec took care of over the last couple of years. So I think the other thought is that if we can get the town to take them down, even if there's a back charge to the project, it can't be much. But instead of going through, a long protracted discussion with earth movers, whether it's their problem because of excavation work on the site and how do we know, and where the tree's already dead, and if there's a charge if we can get it taken care of, and if there's a cost, we can probably cover it. And I think that that's probably the more efficient way to approach it at this point.
Right. So if we need to get sign-offs from building department, fire, health, and planning and zoning, is planning and zoning gonna sign off to get the
Right.
CO? Or are there things that Beth still has on her list? Because the one list she put out was not, didn't seem like, I wasn't sure if these were requirements or whether there were certain things that were requirements, like some of the grading and the action, et cetera. And there were other things that seemed more like recommendations. So is there a way to find that out?
Yeah, I think I'm just calling everybody and getting a final word, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
So I will do that tomorrow.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything, questions, comments, observations before we move on? If anything comes up, we'll jump back to it. But John Menti, do we have anything new on the?
Yes, I talked to Malcolm Beeler once this week and once last week. And he indicated to me he's still waiting for a letter from EPA. In his last discussion with the rep Kim Chiser, she indicated to him that there's nothing else that we need to do, and she just needs to draft a letter and send it over. So that's what we're waiting for.
Okay, and so once we get that letter,
We're done.
off of our list and
Yes,
et cetera, but we want to get that letter first.
yes. He said if I don't hear back from her by the end of the week, I'm going to call her again on Monday. He wants to close it out himself.
Right,
But
and so that would become,
this
go ahead.
woman is retiring after 25 years with the feds, October 1st. So she's probably got a lot of things she's trying to settle down. Yeah.
Good, get us done first. So
Hey, John,
once we get that report, it'll probably have to be put in some kind of packet.
Yeah.
The other stuff that we have, I have a couple of the letters, I think that'll have to be cut, and Bob will have to store it somewhere that can be easily found
Right.
in case anybody wants to ask any questions later on.
hey, John, I have a question.
Sure.
After all this is all settled, can I paint that floor?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I would just wait to make sure we get the letter first from her, from EPA saying the case has been closed, and then we can do anything you want with it.
Yeah, no, because it's such, a nice looking room and
Yeah.
a shitty floor, so.
Yeah. Well, it'll be easier to keep clean and all too.
Yeah.
Nice, good paint sealer on it.
It won't be red, don't worry.
One of the things that helped us, the sampling that the other company took and couldn't document it by photographs or even locations, didn't bode well with them, but it helped us. And because he took 25 samples, documented and photographed them, that made a big difference. Getting things done right. So
Paint it blue or something, Bob, so it's a completely different color.
I was gonna paint it pink, but I don't know.
hot pink.
Hot pink.
Hot pink. There you go. Safety pink. Call it safety pink. Well, thanks for all that, John. And hopefully
Yeah, I'm hoping by the next meeting, this will be totally closed out.
Good.
Knock on wood.
Great.
No comments, permanent.
Okay, so that's a good thing. Budget review, is that a good thing?
Yeah, we'll skip the individual budgets. They're on the shared drive. They were distributed. But let's look at the combined project accounting here. We are, as you pointed out, we are still here in the middle. We're still carrying that 68,000 for the boiler room. So as soon as we get the EPA's blessing, we'll eliminate that potential expenditure and roll that money back up into the the balance of the contingency. But we'll move back up here on PCOs. We have some PCOs to look at tonight. They were primarily PCOs that we're recommending be rejected. So, but we're still carrying the cost here in the totals. Everything else pretty much stays the same on additional services requests. I will say that I think somebody asked last week about again, we'll look at this invoice later, the charge for the additional landscaping at Johnson. I had not actually rolled that up into the project budget, so we have finally accounted for it today in this spreadsheet. And you'll notice that our remaining contingency right now is at about $668,000. It's a little lower than we were showing last month, also because I went through with a fine-tooth comb the other budget spreadsheets, found a couple of formulas that weren't rolling up correctly. I believe that this is an accurate accounting right now of what we have left. Should all of these expenditures become due, so we're still significantly under budget on the total of the two projects. Ken and I also had a conversation last week, and we both believe that there are after tonight's PCO review, that there should not be any additional PCOs coming in. And if they are, they'll be minimal and probably due to rework, so not something that would be reimbursable by the state in any case. We think we're coming to the close of all the potential change orders that might be issued on the project. But you will notice that I've added a line here for bond adjustment values. Part of the process is that as we increase the contract with each subcontractor, they are not allowed to charge off increases in their bond, what they're charging for their bonds. Sometimes their bond companies will not, they'll consider the change orders, minimal and won't worry about increasing that cost of insurance. But on the outside, Ken has calculated, a value for where the bonds for each project might, when we reconcile, might have to be increased over the original charges. These are a conservative outside value. I've added them to the spreadsheet, but don't think that they're all going to, hit the books at the end of the project.
Okay, any questions, comments for Geraldine on this cost analysis?
Okay.
So with that up there, because we're looking at additional fee requests, I'm going to talk a little bit about that before we jump into doing the change orders. So we're just going to switch that, which we can do. So with both the additional service requests from Perkins Eastman and Rizzo, I had drafted with some help a reply to the Rizzo request from back in January, and I just received Rizzo's reply to my reply to them about an hour ago. So I haven't had a chance to look at it. I would need to distribute it to everyone to take a look at it before we go any further with that. So that's where that is. And Perkins Eastman, we are just kind of a beginning process of talking with them about their requests and where we're going to go with that. So that's the quick update, but I think we need to keep carrying the figures in there. Not just so the additional fee requests from Rizzo, but then there's restoring the roofing contract increase. And again, that's another discussion that needs to be had at some point. Because Geraldine, it looks like you're carrying that as an expense.
I am still, and I think we haven't discussed that with Rizzo at all in probably months. So we should catch up on whether any of that is necessary in order to satisfy their contingency obligations on change orders that didn't hit the owner's side of the ledger. So yeah.
Right. So it needs to stay. They all need to stay there for now. We continue this discussion and figuring it all out. So any other questions on this? Either the additional services requests or the spreadsheet that Geraldine keeps track of for us, so our heads all don't blow up. Okay, so then we can do the change orders, I think.
Yes. So change orders, we won't review the proposed change order logs, but they're up to date and on the server if anybody wanted to look at them. I want to start with the easy change order first. This is something we discussed last week, and you gave us the go-ahead to produce a real PCO for it. This is the final credit for the returned wood flooring at the Johnson that was supposed to be used on the Johnson platform where we substituted for LVT. The final credit here on the excess material is $500. We recommend you accept that and not the wood. So.
So I'll make a motion that we accept PCO number 142 for Johnson School, a credit of $500 for the wood flooring that was not used.
Second that.
Okay, who was that? Who was that?
Roy.
Roy, second from Roy, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Good, thank you.
Now, the other two PCOs are related to the cable terminations at the wireless access points. We have discussed this, I think you all are aware, over many months. There were some, at both schools, there were connectivity issues that were noticed by district IT folks as we were bringing the schools online last spring and last summer. It turned out that the plug ends that were used to terminate the cables that go into the wireless access points were incorrect. So this is a discussion that went back and forth over many months. The Ferguson Mercury team claimed that they were correct terminations, but they did not comply with the specifications, and so D'Agostino Associates said that rejected them, worked on an interim solution, which the district IT department rejected. At the end of the day, I think we've sort of distilled the conversation down to an email that I also distributed and put on the shared drive, that these termination pieces they did not comply. The ones that were originally used did not comply with the specifications. They were also not submitted. Correct submittal was not submitted for review of the technology consultants. Apparently, the Ferguson Mercury team just went ahead and did what they thought was right. But at the end of the day, it was rejected by the owner and rejected by the technology consultant, and all of those plug ends needed to be re-terminated to make them correct. Now, when we first started this conversation with Ferguson Mercury, I think they wanted about $25,000 for each school to do the re-termination work. They have since submitted two change orders, one for Johnson. This is the one for Johnson in the amount of $12,500. They've submitted a second PCO for Rockwell at $8,300. But at the end of the discussion, and Joe can chime in to support this if he would, the design team and the owner's side are recommending that these change orders be rejected because the original work did not comply with the specifications, and they didn't raise the question at the time that they were installing the incorrect equipment.
I would agree.
So, Joe, okay.
I think you covered everything.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure I got it all correct.
I think the only thing you might have missed was the original submittal was marked revise and resubmit, and it wasn't resubmitted on.
Okay.
So they did give us some of what they installed.
No,
So they gave us the middle of We're going to install.
They gave a submittal of a product that was marked revise and resubmit. And they installed the incorrect device that was never submitted upon.
Okay. So
And
they,
that's,
they did give you a submittal and you said, nope. You have to
Right.
resubmit it, and they went and installed what was on the original submittal, which
No.
was wrong.
no, they installed something completely different that didn't match the submittal, the contract documents, and didn't work with the wireless access points.
Jeez.
So it was another product that was a known issue with the wireless access point. So if they would have submitted upon it, D'Agostino would have flagged it and we wouldn't have gotten to where we got to.
Got it. And they're still kind of holding fast to, we did the right thing, even though they didn't.
They are, yes.
Okay.
They are, and I think part of it is that they are saying that they had a solution and it could have been accepted, it was not accepted, yeah.
Nancy, I make a motion, we accept the recommendation not to accept the change order.
So what's the change order number? Because it's cut off.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
didn't see it. Oh, there it is. Change order number 00140.
So you're making a motion to reject change order number 140 for Johnson School?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Second from Dave Olson. Is there any other discussion that needs to happen on this, or are we pretty clear on it? And again, a motion to reject. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, done. And then, is there one for Rockwell?
There is.
131?
It's the same circumstances again, Geraldine.
Exactly, yep.
Again, I'll make that motion that we reject. We take the recommendation to reject proposed change order 00131, the amount of $8,345.93.
Second.
Second from Dave Olson. And again, I don't think we have any further discussion we need to do unless anybody has any questions on this one. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are done with those two. And we have a couple others, right, Geraldine?
Nope, that's it. That's all the change orders.
Oh,
One more. Okay.
Now, the rest of the documents that are up there were all just in support of that, the
Okay.
cable retermination
Got
issue,
it.
if anybody wanted information.
Okay.
And Nancy,
Yes.
I just received an email or a text from Dr. Carver because I asked her if there's anything you want me to bring up. And she said, no, she was fine. She said, no, nothing I could think of except for a timeline for the landscaping.
So that was what Ken brought up, I think, during the report. He's got, you know, and Ken, you can update this a little if you think it's going to be different, but you have starting next week with the organic weed killer, or no, starting tomorrow.
Yep. And then they'll finish up next week, but then it's gonna be a growing and waiting for it to, mature so that it can be cut. And then they get 2 cuttings before it's supposed to be, over for acceptance.
Right. So when you have on here, Ken, aerate, you have, they will aerate, seed, and amend the soils. So what are they doing to amend the soils?
Just starter fertilizer.
Mhm.
Basically, and that's basically all that they'll be adding to the soils.
Okay, and they'll probably do that before they aerate it, because that'll kind of almost grind it in a little.
Yeah, mix it in with the seed.
Okay, so does that give you enough information, Bob, to,
Yeah, I believe so.
okay. So we're looking at done with seeding and everything next week, but then like Ken said, we're gonna have to hope for rain or do some sprinkling or something, and then hope for growing a nice lawn. All right, anything else before we do, I guess invoices would be next.
Nope.
So do you want to do the applications for payment first? Or
Yes. So, applications for payment, I do not have posted up here the final application for payment. So someone, hopefully, Nancy, do you have the signed?
I did, Ken dropped them at the municipal center and I did not get back over there. I had already been there, but I did not get back over to pick them up. Are the amounts different?
I have it
The
in
amount
front of me, they're lower.
Yeah, they're lower because I had asked for corrections on, well, I'll just tell you, on both projects, I had asked for Rizzo to reduce their charges for general conditions. So on both of these projects, this calculation, this is Johnson, it's actually incorrect. I wanted them to hold, because we're not holding a retainage on any of the Rizzo management charges, right? Any of the Division 1 charges. I had asked them to limit their charges for general conditions to leave 1%, which, and I don't have those, well, I do have those numbers. So on Johnson, for instance, instead of billing $8,000 here for general conditions, I asked them to limit it to $1,278. That leaves us 1% holding here until they finish all their work. And then there was a similar correction on the Rockwell application for payment. So this amount here that's listed as 211. What should that be, Ken?
It's $204,467.05.
Okay.
So 204,467.05.
Correct.
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
And that's what I have, calculated, so that I would recommend that be the approval. Everything else on the application was fine. Just as some background, retainage relief was recommended at Johnson. Verdi is paid 100%, including retainage. Encore, which is the signage company, is 100%. And what else do we have? We're still holding, the requisition includes 100% of billing for Massey, which is the glass and, entrance assembly contractor, but we're still holding retainage. And also Action Air, their retainage was reduced down to 2.5%. So just as a accounting of what's included in this application for payment, but all has been reviewed and vetted and recommend approval.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we approve Rizzo application for payment number 30 for Johnson School in the amount of $204,467.05.
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay, I got a second from whoever. And we don't need to do any more discussion because we just got a whole bunch. Unless anybody has any other questions. And I'm hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Done. So then I'm sure the same thing is true for the Rockwell.
It is true. So the only change to what you see here is, again, under general conditions, instead of billing $15,000 this period, we held them to $11,804, which maintains a 1% balance to finish on this line item. So,
Okay.
and that amount should be
$142,520.01.
So 142,521 cents.
Correct.
Okay. I will make a motion that we approve Rizzo application for payment number 30 for Rockwell School in the amount of $142,520.01.
second,
Second from Dave Olson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Done. And I'll be over tomorrow morning to get those, sign them and bring them up to have them taken care of. And we have a couple others. Pick
We have
one,
some invoices. So Losito,
too
we
early.
talked about this one earlier. This is a charge to provide a network drop at the Johnson cafeteria for their point of sale system at the end of the food line. We had a location originally within the cafeteria. They asked for an additional point of sale station in a different location. And again, instead of having Ferguson Mercury come back to do it, Bob arranged for Losito to do it. This scope of work was actually included on the change order with the washer dryer hookups. But when we rejected the washer dryer hookups, we didn't remember that there was this other little piece of work that was included in there. And so it kind of fell through the cracks until school was about to start. And they said, oh, how do we charge for our school lunches? You know, so Bob made sure that the work was completed before school started.
Okay, so I will make a motion to approve the Lucido invoice number 109602 for, this was which school? Johnson School, in the amount of $942.52.
second,
Second, Dave Olson. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Next.
Sunburst, so all the lovely additional landscaping. This is their invoice for the work at Johnson. As you will recall, the school district picked up the tab for the Rockwell work and asked the building committee and the project to pick up the tab for the Johnson work. This is a 100% bill for their work.
So I'll make a motion that we approve Sunburst Landscaping invoice number 15109 in the amount of $34,500 for the landscaping at Johnson School.
second,
Second, that.
Yep, Dave and Roy second it. No discussion, I think, needed. We did that already. If there are any questions, jump in. Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done.
And we have two STV invoices.
Is that Robert Lord one? Have to be done or?
Yeah,
no?
we're not gonna deal with the Robert H. Lord one. That is for we thought that by now those brackets for the shelves to be attached to the wall at the Johnson Media Center would be here, but apparently they were lost in the Federal Express delivery system. They claimed they were delivered. They claimed they were left by a front door, but who leaves it at a front door to school? So they've been reordered. So we're not gonna deal with the invoice until they actually come in. So it's just the two STV invoices.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the STV invoice number 90021914 in the amount, I think this is additional extended services.
Yep.
In the amount of $4,368.50.
second,
Dave Olson seconds. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
Opposed? Done. And then the last one, also STV. I make a motion that we approve the STV invoice number 90021915 for Rockwell School. Again, extended services in the amount of $1,638. Dave seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Done. Done, done, done. Yeah. So there's something that I'll just mention, which isn't wasn't on our bullets because we kind of finished with it with the federal tax credits. I had asked Bob to be the contact person for the Alliant group because they had to go and do their review. And I hope they made a contact with you, Bob.
Oh, yeah, we spent about, I'd say about 2.5 hours on both buildings. And he was extremely thorough. I mean, in the pouring rain too.
Yeah.
You know, he took photographs and he just documented it like crazy.
So then the rest of it is kind of like up to them and they make the decisions and it really doesn't impact us or our budgets or anything like that. I think, you know, we're sort of done with that. And once they did their walkthrough, I think it kind of meant they're sort of don't need to come back and do anything else. So
He flew in from Texas to do this.
really,
Yeah,
they don't have local people doing this.
apparently not. He stayed in Danbury at a hotel, and then he had to get back. And you know, he was soaking wet. He didn't bring anything with him, raincoat or nothing. But he was thorough though. He didn't rush through it all.
He flew
looked
back
at every-
14.
He looked at every rooftop unit, every space, every room.
Well, I hope it's worth it to ESC for all that
Yeah.
they have to put into it. So, all right, good, thanks. So our next meeting is at the end of the month, the 28th. And hopefully we'll have lots of stuff done by then. And lots of decisions made and things like that. We'll have to see. Are there any reasons like Joe Colada, do you need to come out and do any more checking of things, or are you kind of done with what you got to do?
I think we're done with what we have to do.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. Are there any other people that we need to get out other than the town people to look at stuff, check stuff, sign off on stuff, etc.? Yeah, good. Okay. So I think we're kind of done with school stuff. We have public site people need to stick around for police station and municipal center renovations. We will do a meeting on the 28th and then we'll see at that point. Maybe we're done, or maybe we need to have you come back once or twice in some future, like once a month kind of thing, if there's outstanding stuff, but we'll have to make a decision on that. Because if there's not a lot, I don't see a reason for, I mean, it'll stay on our agenda just because there'll be paperwork and other stuff that we have to make sure gets happened. And then Geraldine's gonna have some stuff with state reimbursement, et cetera. But, you know, we'll see where we go from there.
Miss you, Joe.
I know, it's hard to believe.
And he's in the cafeteria now.
Yes.
Yeah, are you having lunch, dinner?
Dinner. Haven't had dinner yet.
Okay. All right, well, so good. Thanks, Geraldine, Joe, Ken, and Jim for being here and sticking around, and we'll see you in 2 weeks at least, or sooner if we need to. And like I said, stick around. Oh, Bob, too. Thanks, Bob. Bye, Bob.
Not a problem.
Yeah, we'll see you. Thanks.
You. Thanks, Bob.
All right, good night, everyone.
All
Good
right.
night.
Night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Right.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we still have 5. All right, we're good. So, so police stations, I did send kind of a report that I cut and pasted together from all the different emails back and forth after we did the water test on September 2nd at the firing range. And with the amount of rain that we had Wednesday overnight into Thursday, nobody took a hose out because we really didn't need to. And the 2 things that came up were this one section. It's literally in the middle of the building on the back wall. So on that back facing wall, there was just this strip of water that was there. And we were just stymied by it. And so the people present were 2 people from Downs Construction that had been at the first water test, and Brian Humes. So Brian and this fellow Bruce from Downs got up on the roof and went all over the place checking, trying to figure out where the hell the water came from. And they figured it out. They kind of did a bunch of things. So there's a large size gutter on that back because the roof slopes down to the back. There's 3 downspouts, one on either end, one in the middle. So they're not pitched. They're just all even. So the water will just go in and go to the downspouts. Or actually, it's a little high in the center, maybe a tiny bit lower at the ends. And what they found when they got up on the roof was that there's those cagey kind of things that goes into the downspout holes that's supposed to keep leaf junk from getting in there. And those were all clogged up with leaves. And then there was a layer of leaf sediment stuff all along the bottom of the gutter. So they cleaned all that out. And what they think happened, which to me made sense, is that the amount of water coming off the roof at any given time during the really heavy rain with the leaf stuff that was kind of clogging up the downspouts and the downspout holes made the water level in the gutter just like overflow the gutter. And so the places where the gutter's attached to the building with fasteners is where the water most likely came into the inside because it was standing water at some point, probably a lot of points during that overnight rain in the gutter and then got into the interior of the building and just in that one section. So a couple of different ideas we had just to make sure. And the interesting thing is this gutter clog up, not on the firing range, but on other parts of the building has happened before when it was 6 or so months ago, maybe back last fall, when Chief Pugner reported a leak because he saw some water stains in the roof and the ceiling over in his office and a couple other places. So when the Downs happened to be out there for something, they checked. The gutters were backed up with leaf debris. They cleaned it all out, got the water out of there. There hasn't been any leaks since. So I told Chief Pugner to have the maintenance guys put it on a regular schedule to come and clean the gutters out. And hope that happens because Pugner said, well, there are no leaves, there are no trees hanging over the building. Well, there aren't, but there are trees adjacent. You get wind blowing, stuff gets trapped there, it breaks down, it gets in that, fine booky stuff that anybody who's cleaned out gutters has had to deal with. So we have to make sure the gutters and the downspouts get cleaned out. Rich Straighton was there and he proposed if we added more downspouts, just in case this ever happens again, so there's more water flow coming out, we could do that at some point. And then the only other place that we saw moisture was around the exterior or the interior of the walls. There's a channel system that was made when the first layer of block was put in. So there's flashing kind of that goes to the outside. And there's supposed to be 2 rows of 4-inch block with a gap in between where the water would come out through the weeps. If moisture, not water, not leaking water, but moisture, because you've got, if you read the whole report thing with the whole exterior, interior, you got no conditioning happening on the inside of the building. If you get moisture in the cavities, it's going to go down and come out the weep holes. It was very, very, very humid and damp inside the day we all walked in. We all noticed it. The biggest thing they're suggesting with that is to get some sort of air exchange happening, not just the heat like we have, but actual air exchange happening to get the humidity down inside until something permanent is installed. Or, can we install that permanent air exchange system now before we finish the rest of the range? Because there's a whole process that we need to go through. I don't really know if we can.
Hey, Nancy?
Yeah.
What is the feeling as far as how long is it clearly going to go through the winter before we're going to be able to get funds, appropriated to do the range?
So that's a good question. And so the one other thing I forgot to leave that I left out, that flashing system and I think it was included in the emails that I got. And I think it didn't go as part of the attachment that I sent when I pasted all the emails together. But that flashing system on the bottom row of block on the front building, the east wall, block there, kind of comes like right up to, like it's only a little tiny bit below where that flashing is. And somebody put some sealant in there, but we think it needs to get redone. So I think we need to direct Downs to come and redo that whole sidewalk, that sealant that goes there. Because that would stop, there was actually more moisture in that area than on the back wall. So we definitely need to get that done. And then as far as the range, I actually got an email from Brad Herring in finance, in the finance office today, saying that he had a conversation with Chief Pugner, who was looking into trying to figure out putting something out to bid to get some figures together to finish the firing range. And Brad had a couple questions for me. Would we, the Public Site and Building Commission, oversee that? And I told him that only if the Board of Selectmen assigned it to us. And what kind of money was left in the project budget, which I can't really say because we still owe money to Brian Humes and to Downs, and I don't know how much the Downs amount's going to be and how much. I had all the spreadsheets that Brad sent me maybe about 6 months ago. And there was still a good amount of contingency left. Downs contingency, the construction manager contingency as part of the GMP. Some of this work that they've done, like applying the coating, is going to come out of that contingency.
Well, the reason I ask is because I think that we do have to address the heat situation. The heat that we put in there was really for a temporary basis. And
Yes.
if it's going to become more permanent, which it seems to be, then, we should change out that gas heating unit to one that has combustion from the outside air, so it's direct vented, etc. So,
Right.
and it's not a huge problem, but I hate to waste money. I would think it's in the $3,000 to $5,000 range to change that unit out if we had to. And we might have to have an HVAC person look at it and look for some sort of a heat exchanger or whatever it might be, so that we can take care of the moisture problem in there.
We don't have any money though, right now.
That's what I know, John. So, we're looking at really just a temporary situation
Right.
so that we wouldn't, freeze the building and, damage the floors, etc. And, this is turning into a much longer term item than what was designed for.
Right, but if we were able to get a system designed that would be part of finishing the firing range. And I wonder if we could, and have it.
They're not similar.
That's
There's no way you're gonna do that.
They were running two different, totally,
Yeah.
the.
They're not even,
they
they're
had-
not even close to each other.
Exactly,
The
So-
heating system for a firing range is a one-pass system.
yeah.
Air just basically goes in and goes out of the range. You're not gonna do anything
Right.
that's gonna wind up being the firing range heat, it's a very sophisticated heating system that goes in there.
Yeah.
Right, because there needs to be an air exchange, because there needs to be air
It's usually a single pass. There's no exchange. It just takes in outside air
and it goes back
and sends it right back outside.
out, right?
Yeah.
So, but if the system was designed to be something used in a firing range, could it be installed before all
No,
the stuff is installed?
No,
it all has to be, it's a very delicate process because they're trying to keep the air away from the people that are using
right.
the guns. It's.
Okay.
We're not gonna even be able to get close to what,
And all we're
you
trying to
just-
do, we're only trying to temper it, Nancy. I
Right.
mean, we're really just doing a temporary type
Yeah.
situation.
Right,
Not-
In a high efficiency condensing hot air furnace, like
Yeah.
Roy's saying, is just put it in there. It's not gonna be a lot of money. Just get a licensed company to do it and you're done.
Yeah.
Because
and if we-
one of the questions that Rich asked, or even pointed out, was what's in there now? Could that be put so the fan runs all the time and it's just pushing the air out? That little thing that's sitting there, that would have to be, I think, monitored somehow.
It's worthwhile to have Kruger come down. I believe Kruger installed it, and ask him if he can pull some outside air in and what have you to it, to make it, you know.
Yeah,
I could check with Richie on that, or talk to Kruger myself and just ask him if he could look at that.
Kathy.
Just putting it out, hi. Thing is that, I thought I heard that Richie cut the cord to that unit because it was melting. So as of right now, I don't think anything's working there. And I think they put a building to replace the cord. And I don't think they've gotten over there to do that yet. So if you're gonna be Kruger in, somebody needs to let me know that so I don't send them over there.
Right. Yes, so when we were there for the first water test, we found that the extension cord that was being used to run that gas-fired heater was too small. Like it probably would have been a 14.3 and it was probably a 12.3 or something. And so it overheated where it was plugged in, where the unit was plugged into the extension cord, and it was kind of melting a little. So Richie and I thought it was a good idea to just chop it off because nobody would try to. But actually, it melted enough where the ground came out.
Huh.
So we chopped it off to make sure that it didn't get used again without the proper hookup. So that's, I think Richie probably put in a work order to get a new cord put on it, to put on the unit. But we need a better hookup for that.
I'll ask Richie. I'll give Richie a call, okay?
Yeah.
And just find out where he is on it, and then maybe we can at least check, because if we're gonna go through the winter, you know, such as John is saying, we should get, you know, a higher efficiency condensing type unit. So.
Right. And I did ask, because we, you know, John and Roy can give us an update a little bit on the municipal center renovation. That funding, that grant funding that's supposed to be coming in or has come in, some of it's come in to the town to be used on different types of projects. They don't have to be construction projects. But the question to Matt Knickerbocker was, you know, last month when he brought that up was, could it be used to complete the firing range? And it certainly could. So I don't know if that is in the works as part of that grant money. If it is, that would be great, but I think that, and I'm not sure if the plan that was starting to be put together by the police department a while ago, a couple of years ago, by Action Target, included all of the air HVAC parts or not, or whether it was just the targets and all the other stuff.
One of the ones that Action Air had, Nancy, had everything in it.
Good.
In fact,
Okay.
that was the important part of it, you know, that I recall on the thing was that they actually had the design of the HVAC system, which was significantly less than if we went out on our own and individually priced it.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, it would be great if it was going to be something that was going to come up really soon. I don't have an answer to that, but at least as far as, you know, can we get that thing going and have air moving around in the space much more than it is? You know, you can check in with Richie and see where we can go with that.
I'll ask Richie and see if we can do it, because I'd like to propose that we, you know, make it a high efficiency unit so that we're not having a condensation problem. So we're not making the problem worse. So.
Right.
Right, and just let me know when you
Okay, good.
not bring the guys in if they don't need to.
Okay, let me give Richie a call tomorrow, okay?
Thank you.
Yep. And then I'll go ahead and direct Downs to take care of that sealant at the front, the sidewalk, between where the sidewalk and the front wall come together. Ideally, the sidewalk should have stepped down a little bit, an inch maybe, but
Are we still holding money from Brian Hughes?
Yep.
And what's our justification for not paying him now?
we could pay him. I have the invoice.
I mean, I don't know.
And I was going to bring it up. He had asked not too long ago in an email, and I said how you know, we did have a discussion quite a while ago about waiting until we got further along with the firing range and making sure that it was going to be, you know, watertight.
I kind of think we should wait until we get the final sign off from everyone on this. I think we're close enough now. And, you know, especially with, you know, with Matt and everyone else involved, I think I'd kind of like to see everything done and make sure we're comfortable with the level of performance that we get.
So sign off, Roy, you mean by? I mean,
Sign off, yeah, by everyone, by Matt and everyone and our attorneys and everyone to make sure that everyone is comfortable.
Right. I mean, that kind of was my thought. But I also, initially, it was interesting to me that after the Hoffman report and Larry Keenan from Hoffman was the one that was out to inspect the work that Connecticut Masons did, CT Masons did, and the coating before we did the water test to approve, you know, go ahead and do the water test. And I asked John Fraley from Downs, was Brian going to be brought in? And he said no. And I was surprised when Brian showed up because it almost seemed like they were deferring to Hoffman. But then here was Brian, and he was very helpful and
Yeah.
did a lot of good work troubleshooting to keep, you know, I'd be fine with paying them. But again, I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on it.
I'm just reluctant to get it until, you know, I mean, we have attorneys involved in everything
Yeah.
now. I kind of like to have everyone
I'm not in
online.
favor. I'm not in favor of paying them.
Okay. All right, so we can wait and, you know, that, all of the information that I've been sending to all of you with the different things like the water tests and the reports and the outcomes. I also send that to Matt Marty and Attorney Robinson. And I send it to Chief Pugner and Lieutenant Libertini and Lieutenant. So
Good.
that they all, everybody's got all the information that we have. So, you know, a little bit longer on that. Check in and just make sure that everybody's good with going ahead.
Yep. That's good.
And I'll see what I can find out if there is some kind of plan to move more quickly forward with getting the interior of the firing range done. See what I can find out about that.
That's good.
And then, do you have anything on the municipal center renovations there, John and Roy?
I don't have anything.
Okay,
I don't either. I was hoping he was gonna get us those revisions done.
Yeah,
So,
I haven't seen anything, so.
yeah.
okay. And then I had said how the Board of Selectmen approved seed money of $20,000 to get, but then it had to go to Board of Finance, and they may be meeting tonight. So it may not have actually gotten approved yet, if the Board of Finance has to approve it. Because I think when the Board of Selectmen approved it, it was, you had to wait till the next Board of Finance cycle. But I'm not sure, so.
Okay.
And then one other thing I'll let you all know is that, so I will forward to you, I have to figure out how to do it. That's what I got from Rizzo today. It's a letter, 3-page letter in reply to my letter saying we reject their request for additional services or additional funding. And then 8 pages of justification, I guess, basically ending up saying they would be glad to meet with us to discuss further. So we'll have to see where, since a lot of that came out of Marty and Attorney Robinson reviewing the contracts, et cetera, they're probably all going to want to review it again first before any further with it. And Attorney Robinson has also reviewed, along with Marty, the requests from Perkins Eastman, along with my response to Perkins Eastman more than a year ago, their response to me, and a bunch of the stuff that Geraldine wrote out. So they're looking at we're looking at a possible meeting with Perkins Eastman to discuss. And I'm not sure if it's going to be with us or just with them. So to find out.
Okay.
So that all those figures, we may be doing some kind of like settlement of lesser amounts, but I think some of it may be that their reasons are justified and some may be that they're not. So we'll have to see about that.
Mhm.
All righty. I think we're good with everything unless anybody else has any other questions or comments. Dave, you're not in Maine? No, you're muted. So if you want to talk to us, you have to unmute yourself, but. So we'll,
I'll be in Maine for the next meeting,
oh, you will, and you'll zoom in from there?
hopefully.
Hopefully, good.
But it is our last night there, so I may in fact say I can't attend.
Well, and if we need you, we will let you know because as you see, we're almost a little short tonight.
I'll let you know near the end of the time.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr.
Kathy?
Menti, are you gonna do the honors?
Pardon?
Mr. Menti,
What's that?
are you doing the honors?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Dave seconds, John thirds, Roy fourths, I fifth.
All right.
All in-
Everybody have a nice night.
Good night,
Okay.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Yep,
See you in a
bye-bye.
couple weeks, if not sooner.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.